Next up on WTV, a BPA competition, a Red Hawk mix all-state choir, this week's edition of Real Talk, and today's Sports Minute. WTV's Daily Update starts now. Good morning, Red Hawk Nation. Today is Friday, January 17th, and I'm Alyssa Murphy with today's Daily Update, brought to you by Wingspan TV. It's back to school time for students that take dual credit. WTV's Madigan Jr. has the details.
For COLLIN students, winter break was longer than the break of Frisco ISD. Dual credit students wrapped their first semester on December 13th, a week before Frisco ISD ended. And while Frisco started back on January 7th, dual credit students got an extra 2 weeks off. For students with an afternoon class, the longer break meant getting home even earlier, sometimes as soon as second period, on campus. For students that take 0-hour classes, it meant being able to sleep in longer than usual.
I take COLLIN English and COLLIN History. I've basically been sleeping in because I don't have to wake up early for 0-hour.
Dual credit students also get out earlier for summer vacation as their semester ends May 17th. Reporting for WTV, this is Madigan Jr.
BPA, also known as Business Professionals of America, is getting ready to compete in its regional competition Saturday at REEDY High School. WTV's Pratham Shah has the details.
Students interested in the different fields of business often sign up for BPA, which gives them a taste of how things operate in the workplace via different competitions.
So BPA stands for Business Professionals of America, and it's basically allowing the youth to get experience and to kind of like learn about what the business world is about out there and kind of like put their skills to the test and kind of compete against other people in the region or the state and even nationally.
The real-world exposure is something freshman Arshia Narula enjoys and looks forward to in her future career.
I chose to be in BPA because business is a career I'm looking forward to going to, and I also am just interested in like the fields of business, and I want to see which one I like the most.
Reporting for Wingspan TV, this is Pratham Shah.
With Martin Luther King Jr. Day giving students the day off on Monday, WTV's Pratush Prathak explains the history of the holiday.
Martin Luther King Jr. Day will give us an extra day off this weekend, but the history behind this 34-year holiday isn't as well known as the man himself. The movement to have a day honoring the face of the civil rights movement started 4 years after King's assassination on April 4, 1968, but despite these efforts, no significant strides were made until a decade later. Representative John Conyers from Michigan introduced legislation for a national holiday in 1968 but did not get enough votes. The movement to incorporate a holiday for Martin Luther King gained more traction in the 70s and was made a holiday by several states including Illinois, Massachusetts, and Connecticut. But no real progress was made on the national level. President Jimmy Carter called on Congress to vote on the bill to create the holiday in 1979, but the bill was defeated in December of the same year. Despite years of setbacks, MLK's widow continued to fight for the holiday and finally succeeded on November 3, 1983. President Ronald Reagan signed the bill, making the third Monday of every January Martin Luther King Day, and the holiday was set to go in effect in 1986. This January 20th marks the 35th anniversary of the holiday, and the 15th would have been the 91st birthday of Martin Luther King. Reporting for WTV, this is Pratush Pathak.
On this week's edition of Real Talk, WTV's Sydney Andros hits the halls to ask students about Martin Luther King Jr. Day.
This is WTV's Sydney Andros with this week's edition of Real Talk, and today we're going to hit the halls and ask students about Martin Luther King Jr. What is the importance of MLK Day?
MLK Day represents America establishing equality, especially after such a dark time, during and before the Civil Rights Movement.
I would say the importance of MLK Day is just realizing and recognizing all that he did for our country, and even though he wasn't alive to witness all of it, what he did, and so we give him a day to just say thank you.
Very important to me. I mean, Martin Luther King paved the way for guys like me, and he gave me this opportunity to have a great education.
I think that he was a really important fighter for civil rights and for the basic rights of African Americans everywhere. So I think it's important that we celebrate him and all the work that he did to bring awareness to the rights that everybody deserves.
It's just to basically recognize the civil rights activists, the movement, how we became a free country, how we all became equal, how we all blended together in schools, jobs, like everywhere, just like because of him.
What impact did MLK have on America?
He's an avid civil rights leader, and he's a really good role model for all minorities and to everyone in general. Yeah.
He was a voice for a large group of people that didn't really have one. He put himself out there, even though it was obviously dangerous for him to do so.
He had a big impact. I mean, he did a lot of things that people told him not to because he would have gotten like killed for it, which he did, but he just helped us to kind of open our eyes to a new world.
Had a tremendous impact on America. I mean, like, America wouldn't be the same without him. It would be like separated, and Martin Luther King brought us together and said we should work as one to reach a certain common goal.
How is MLK inspiring?
I think he's inspiring because he stands up for what he believes in, and also, like I said before, he does it in a peaceful way, and he inspires everybody, regardless of their situation, to take a stand for what they believe in, so I think that's really important.
He's inspiring because he basically showed the way you can get what you wanted without being violent, without like hurting or putting other people in danger, just like by doing it like peacefully.
He kind of went against oppression, and he obviously made a lot of enemies and risked his life, but I think he did it for a good cause, so I think that's inspiring for everyone.
With this week's edition of Real Talk, it's been WTV's Sydney Andros.
A Red Hawk makes All-State Choir for the first time. WTV's Kirthi Gumati has the details.
With about 15,000 people trying out for All-State Choir, junior Megan Guidry is one of the 220 that made the All-State Mixed Choir that will perform at the TMEA State Convention in February.
It's really cool because no one's ever made it from Liberty, and I've always wanted to make it since I was in 8th grade. And I never really thought it would happen, but I just kept trying out until I finally made it. So for the 2nd through 4th rounds, there are 2 parts. It's first 2 or 3 songs, and then you have to sing a sight reading piece. The 2 or 3 songs are usually foreign language pieces. Some of them are in English, but they're collegiate level pieces, so they take a while to learn. I'm just really excited to sing at the TMEA concert in San Antonio because I've always wanted to sing alongside so many of the other All-State members. And the whole process is just, I've learned so much about sight reading and improving as a musician that I wouldn't take it back regardless of whether I made it or not.
Guidry started preparing for auditions over the summer.
So the practicing starts in the summer. I go to an all-state camp. I went to Baylor for that last year, and I then just started practicing, especially as the school year started. It was a lot more difficult to practice between doing homework and everything. But I went into practice with Ms. Ugolini, our choir director, and I have voice lessons every week. And I would practice for several hours each week.
Reporting for WTV, I'm Kirthi Gumati.
It's a busy day in the Red Hawk sports world. WTV's Walker Shippey brings you today's Sports Minute.
The District 10 5A Swimming Championships take place today at the EUBANKS Natatorium. Both senior Janon Minot and junior Mallory Showalter see today's meet as important for the team as a whole.
This meet is very important because it's the biggest meet for FISD, and it gives us an opportunity to qualify for regions, which is the next meet.
It's like the first of one of our big meets, so we do districts, regionals, state. So if we do well at districts, we go to regionals and then state, so it's pretty important to do well.
Minot and Showalter both have high hopes for today's meet.
Well, hopefully we'll make it to regionals, which would be really great, and then if we do well at regionals, then we'll go to state, which would be really exciting.
It definitely motivates us to do our best too. Seeing them be successful makes us want to be successful too. So I definitely use that for motivation.
The meet starts this morning at 10 o'clock. Girls and boys soccer play tonight versus REEDY. The girls are coming off a 3-2 win to Wakeland on Tuesday. The boys are coming off a 4-1 loss to Wakeland. The girls game starts at 5:30 and the boys at 7:15, both at the start. Girls and boys basketball match up against Heritage tonight. The girls came out with a win in their last game versus Lebanon Trail, 45-35. The boys also beat the Trailblazers, 58-44. The girls start at 6 o'clock and the boys at 7:15, both at the Nest tonight. For WTV Sports, this is Walker Shippey.
If you are looking for more from Wingspan, you can follow us at Liberty Wingspan on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook, or visit our award-winning website, libertywingspan.com. And now for today's announcements. Spring 2020 Esports Competition Informational Meeting is today at 4:30 in the lecture hall. All students and parents interested are invited. The Cricket Club will have a meeting today during advisory in room C112. That's it for today's daily update. This is Alyssa Murphy for Wingspan TV.